Hi, my name is Phil Spokes. I'm the Director of Spokes Education, and today we're going to talk about building a team. So you might be wondering why I'm starting with building a team. You haven't even necessarily got the work to sustain a team yet. But for me, this is the most important of all the things that you need to do. If you get a solid team around you, everything else will fall into place. So one of the things that I probably did wrong when I first started was not be prepared. And, that was, to be in my fairness, it was probably because I wasn't planning on becoming an agency, wasn't planning on necessarily growing. But when that opportunity came up, I wasn't ready for it. So what happened was I was working with a client, I've been doing plenty of work for them, and they threw a massive project at me, something I just couldn't do myself in the time frame that was required. So I was scrambling around trying to find people to help me. And, did that and got a couple of people, just through kind of contacts of contacts. And I got my friend to help me as well, who kind of had similar skills to me. But I look back at that project and it's pretty embarrassing. And it wasn't particularly run well, and it wasn't executed well, and definitely wasn't delivered well. So what you should do as a freelancer is be really, really prepared and especially if you want to go into agency, because what you don't want to do is be in that situation where you've got a really good opportunity and you just don't have anyone to help you with that. So you start thinking now about people that you may already know, and it might be that you don't know anyone. So start looking around and looking for other like-minded freelancers. Don't worry so much at this stage around finding someone for long term. That's not the point at this moment in time. The point is having someone that can help you to start build your portfolio. So and build your finances and build everything up. You don't need to worry necessarily about building a team. That might happen, it might come, it might decide that you do work together on something. But right now it's about having good people so you deliver really good work, and you can demonstrate that, which will help you then go and find not only new work, but will help you find new people as well to come and help you. So start doing that. Go and finding those people. Talk to people you know, and talk to people in the industry, and find people who are in similar positions to you, so people who are kind of willing to collaborate, people who have the same mindset as you. That's really, really important as well. People that kind of work in the same way of you, but perhaps bring new ideas. Something else I did wrong, when I did bring people in, so when I did scramble around and find those people, I actually brought people in who were very similar in their skill sets to me. And again, that was probably not the right way to go about it. After a while, so once I got past that, and once I'd done that, and I got to the stage where I was ready to kind of recruit, I was in a very fortunate position, because what happened was my brother Mark was kind of available at the time. He was looking for something to do, and he has the opposite kind of skill sets to me in the same industry. He comes from education, digital learning particularly, but his kind of skill sets are kind of the opposite of mine. So I'm much more around the business, around the development, technical side, where he's much more around the creative and learning design side. So I got really, really lucky that at the time that I was kind of expanding, he was available, and he kind of joined up and worked with me. And, it was immediate that the next project we took on after that, where he was involved, the quality just increased massively, because he brought something else to it that I wasn't given. So he brought that kind of creative eye. It looked so much better. The quality of the work was so much better. It just looked much more professional. It looked like something you'd expect from an agency rather than something you would expect from a freelancer, just because of that extra kind of skill set. Now, some of you might be blessed with a bit more creativity than me. You might be able to say, I can do, I might be a triple threat. I can do all these kind of things that the industry requires, in which case, that's great. But, you can't necessarily do it all at the same time. So what I would suggest for those people that kind of can do everything, find the kind of areas, where you might want, where you don't enjoy as much, or you might want a little bit of extra support, the areas you're a little bit weaker in, and look to kind of pad that out as well. Now, what that will do, like I said, you'll start to create a mini agency. I like to kind of compare it, to building a sports team. So, if you're into basketball or football, you might be a solid defender, but you can't shoot. it's no good having someone on your team that, two defenders, you might do well in something, but actually that kind of, you're not going to score the goal. So, if you have someone that can kind of complement you, and over time, what you start then to do is pad your team out. So you're now going from 2 aside, you could get up to 5 aside. Now where we are, we're an 11 aside team. And what we've kind of done is built up all these kind of complementary skills and personalities as well, and we now what we're looking to do is kind of fill those gaps. We're always trying to fill those gaps. And when you've sort of at that start point, it's much harder to fill the gaps because there's lots of gaps to fill. But you need to prioritize which gaps it is. So when you start to plan out, and we'll talk about this more when we talk about the planning, you need to start thinking about, okay, what are the kind of the profiles of the people that are going to help me? And what does that look like in terms of their skill sets? What you also really need to consider as well is personality. So when I took my first member of staff on, who's Rachel, still with us today, when we were kind of interviewing for that role, I was looking at kind of skills and things, obviously, but something else I was really looking for is, I'm going to spend a lot of time with this person. I need to really get on with them as well. I need to make sure they're in the right, the same kind of mindset as me. They kind of have the same mentality as me, that, I'm going to get on with them in a working, but also in a personal kind of capacity as well, because you need to kind of have that. You don't need to be best friends. You don't need to, you don't need to hang out after work and stuff. But you need to be able to get on. You need to be able to work together, and you need to enjoy what you're doing. And a big part of that is the people you work with. So when you start to kind of think about the people, put those skills first and think about that and map that out. But when you kind of get into that interview stage, start to think about the personality as well, because that's a huge thing. So start doing that now. Start making connections, start talking to people, start thinking about the kind of people that will kind of complement what you do and enhance what you do, and think about the kind of people, if you were given a big opportunity now, who would you want by your side helping you with that? And like I said, don't worry too much about, if they're going to be your kind of future partner or they're going to be your, future employee. You don't need to worry about that stage. At this point, worry about getting the portfolio built, worry about getting those big projects under your belt, because those big projects are going to come in handy when you're going to go and win new projects later down the line. It doesn't matter, how you've done it, whether you've kind of done it as a group of freelancers or what, that's still your project. You're the one that, that's the company, your company is the one that's kind of done that. It doesn't matter how. So I think that's probably the kind of, or I want to say kind of the fundamentals of that. I'm going to go into a bit more detail in future videos, talking a little bit more about how you set up and how you present yourself as an agency. But for now, like I said, go and make those contacts. Get in contact with me as well if you want. I've got a lot of contacts of people who may be in a similar position to you, I can link you up to different people. But start to do that now, even if you're not ready to kind of go agency, even if you're not ready for the big project, make those links now. Be prepared. It's something we even do now to this day. I've got people lined up. I might not necessarily have a job for them at the moment, but the people I want in the business, the people I know that can add to it, I'm not quite ready for them yet because we don't necessarily have the work or be able to justify it. But what I have done is kind of set that up so that when we do get that work, that contract could come in tomorrow, I can push the button and have someone in the team within a month, rather than kind of be, scrambling around and trying to find someone and end up with someone that's not quite the right fit. So something I'm still doing to this day is lining people up and kind of getting a pipeline of staff. And like I said, you start doing that now and you won't go too far wrong. That's it for now. Thank you, and I'll speak to you next time.